Back there. Well, good afternoon, and thank you for having me here. I feel a little like I'm preaching to the choir. You guys are a critical part of our team in recruiting and establishing new citizens here in the community. It's like a relay. We bring the jobs and the people, and we hand them to you, and you get them settled in neighborhoods with new friends and houses. So we appreciate the partnership, and I'm happy to share with you today. It's a little bit of a mashup between what we share with new companies or consultants that are considering moving into this area with jobs, and some of the information I've shared with my board at the end of 2018 to give them an idea of where we were and where we're going to go. So make sure I work the clicker. So if you're like the rest of the population of Madison County, about half of you aren't from Alabama. We find that a lot of people, even if they're from Alabama, they don't know Huntsville's history. So we always start when we're talking with a new company or a company even that's expanding and bringing in new executives to the community with a little bit of history of Huntsville. And they're always surprised to know that we started as an agricultural community, but we still have a lot of agriculture in the county. I mean, you drive around the undeveloped parts of Research Park even, and West Huntsville out in the Greenbrier area, still a lot of agriculture. But we have parlayed that into becoming the Rocket City in the 60s, celebrating now the 50th anniversary of the moon landing, and all the technologies and economies that have developed since then. We've had a recent focus in the last 10 years on advanced manufacturing to really to fulfill a broader sector of occupation. So we were doing very well and still are doing very well in high tech associated with defense and aerospace, but we knew we needed more manufacturing jobs. We also knew we needed more commercial industry. So we made a concerted effort around commercial advanced manufacturing and have seen a lot of results in that sector, as we'll show in a future slide. But going forward, we know we want to maintain our Rocket City identity. We want to stay high tech, and we want to stay a community that's on the leading edge of innovation. So we are focusing on what our role can be in the new space economy, commercial space, or taking existing assets and manifesting into new economies. So we're working closely with partners at UAH and at Marshall to make sure that we're doing all we can as a community in that regard. We're also seeing a lot of growth with the FBI. I'm sure you've talked to some people about houses for the FBI moves, and we just heard from Senator Shelby and the CFO for the FBI on our DC trip this week. More to come with the FBI, and I'm kind of an FBI junkie. I love the work they do, and everyone I've met that works there, they're just such great people and a great organization. So very glad to have them joining our community in large numbers. When we talk to people about where we are in Alabama, we want them to understand we're in the heart of the Southeast, the northern part of the state, and that we have really a labor shed that extends outside our city limits. So when we talk about our metro population, nearly 500,000, we expect to break that in the mid-2020s. And then our regional population is more than 1 million because of our infrastructure and our access to additional communities along our interstates. Because of our commute times staying low, we can reach that regional labor force of more than 500,000. Another way to look at it with the interstate systems, we do bring in 43,000 daily commuters. That number will grow. So our labor force does hit above our weight, so to speak. And a little bit of population data. 2018, we were at 455,000. The projections for 2023 are 485. So if we continue on that trajectory, as I said, we will break 500,000. Average household income, 80,000. Really high education attainment. So we have a chart in a future slide that kind of combines these into a quality of life index. But broken down this way, you see that we really are a smart place with smart people. This is a combined index showing employment, GDP, and wages of the Huntsville community compared to the state and the nation since 2001. You see the recession, you see a little bit of a dip there, but we didn't fall quite as far as the rest of the community or the rest of the country did, and we regained that growth trajectory pretty quickly. So that's something to be said for all of our markets, housing market and our job market. This is one of my favorite charts because it shows the new jobs that we've had, and not even all of them, but the major announcements we've had since 2010. More than 24,000 jobs have been added And you see by this chart great names, name brand recognition with Facebook and Toyota and Blue Origin. But you also see it's distributed. It's distributed around our population centers. It's distributed around our infrastructure. So we're really glad to see those jobs coming in all different areas of the community. They can draw on different labor sheds. They can work with different high schools, and they can buy houses in different neighborhoods. Our primary industries, the ones that we actively recruit in, have stayed pretty constant as long as I've been with the Chamber, 12 years, and many years prior to that. Defense and aerospace associated with the Arsenal and Cummings Research Park. Life sciences associated with Hudson Alpha primarily. Information technology, that is a cross-cutting industry for all of our target markets, but it is a standalone industry as well. And advanced manufacturing, as I already mentioned, an area that we focused on, especially with the commercial sector in the last several years. So this is some information that we shared with our board at the end of 2018 to give them a snapshot of what we had accomplished. More than 5,000 new jobs. Every year that I've been in this position, our new job count has gone up. And I keep saying, we're not going to use last year as a benchmark. I think 2018 will actually be the year that we see that year-end job total go down, because 5,000 in this community is pretty remarkable. 2 billion plus, almost 3 billion in capital investment. A lot of that associated with Facebook, Mazda, Toyota. And we supported 185 existing industry visits. That's where we go to our companies that are already here. These aren't the new companies. These are the ones that are already here, that are going to work every day, employing people every day, and just making sure that things are good with them. We don't want to bring in new companies at the expense of our existing companies. So our target for this year is 200, and we hope to hit that number and continue to take their input and use that as we refine our programs. Snapshot going back to 2014 of investment in jobs, and I think some of these slides got a little wonky on the screen, but move the T up and you'll see it. But just to see the number of jobs and the investment over the years, and as I said when I first started and said I don't want last year to be a benchmark, I really don't want last year to be a benchmark, but we do see growth, and we do want to continue to grow jobs and investment here. And some of the key indicators that we look at, just to make sure that we're growing smartly, that we're not getting too far ahead of ourselves. So you see employment numbers go up, and you see our labor force go up. So labor force actually went up a little bit more, slightly more than the employment. So that means we're staying ahead of the curve for now. The unemployment rate, it did drop year over year in December, and that number fluctuates. Anything under 4% is considered full employment. So we don't necessarily want people to be unemployed, but we want to make sure that labor force rate stays ahead of that employment growth rate. Part of what I do in economic development is market our community to companies in different venues, and based on those target industries I shared, aerospace, defense, information technology, life sciences, and advanced manufacturing. So these are the primary marketing opportunities that we as a chamber support. A lot of these cases we take our partners from the city, from the county, from the airport, from UAH with us to help share the information about our opportunities here. So we're almost halfway through the year. We've got the Paris Air Show coming up. That is one of the biggies. Alternates with the air show in London, but we'll see between 50 and 60 companies over 3 days, and it's the level of executives that we went and see here in Huntsville. So it's a great opportunity to have everybody all in one place. Going forward, there's several more opportunities that we have, and usually we'll see information about these after we come back through the chamber information. If you're interested in anyone in particular, please let me know. Our media accolades are something that we use to have a third party tell our story for us. We live here, we know, we think it's a wonderful place to live, but when the news media puts you on lists or they give you these rankings, people take that more seriously than if we tell them we're great. So we try to make sure we keep our lists up to date. We have this material on our website if you ever need it, under media accolades, and there is a PDF you can even print out and use with your clients. You guys know this more than we do. Public education is critical to making sure that we're growing in a positive way. That's probably the first question you're asked when someone's buying a house is, where are the good schools? Where do I need to live to get my kids in the good schools? So as a chamber and as a community, we are committed to making sure we continue to make improvements in our public education, that we have positive stories to tell, that we keep that 90% of students in public schools. That is a pretty surprising statistic to a lot of people in the Southeast, but it's critical to us as we recruit businesses and we recruit people for them to know that there are smart, educated people here that send their kids to public schools. Oop, click too quickly there. We are doing a lot of work at the chamber level across the region to bring in, to recruit people here to fill the jobs, new customers for you, and also to grow our own. We want our students to be informed about their job opportunities. We want them to be able to pursue those jobs because they have the education and training they need. So we have a very broad program of workforce development, career awareness, and recruitment. Our newest employee with the chamber, Caitlin Sides-Baker, is here in the back. She's our workforce recruitment director. She's an asset to you. If you have information that would help us, please don't hesitate to share it with either one of us. And if there are things that we can do to help you, we'd love to know that as well. But this site has a lot of recruitment support information, videos, data that you can use as you're working with your customers. Post-secondary education, also a critical piece of workforce. We're really lucky to have the institutions that we do have here and the incoming workforce that's graduating from these universities and community colleges. And this is that quality of life index I mentioned. We created this in-house based on a series, a few different factors: affordability, which we are #1 in the nation for a best affordable place to live; commute times, which we are committed to as a community to keeping low; job opportunities; and education levels. And you see at 113%, we compare very well with the cities we consider our economic peers. This works to our favor when we're talking to people about coming here from California and coming here from DC, so that they know their dollars are going to go farther. And we have great partners that help us make sure that we're prepared for growth. The airport, both as a passenger airport and a cargo airport, one of the top 20 cargo airports in the country, they continue to grow their footprint internationally. Cummings Research Park, second largest research park in the country. The Restore Our Roads initiative that Mayor Battle established to put more money into those very important roads that keep our people moving and keep our commute times low. And our power partners at Huntsville Utilities and TVA, very, very important to making sure that we are growing in a smart way. And I'm sure most of you have clients that have been appreciative of the Gig City initiative with the Google Fiber to the Home. And with that, we're a great place to live. And those of us that are here know it, and to be able to tell that story, it's always the icing on the cake. You never win projects based on quality of life, but you could lose them based on quality of life. And we have a great story to tell. Everything from the arts to outdoors to the really cool, innovative things at the Space and Rocket Center that are really kind of the basic nature of Huntsville. And we have a unique story to tell. We have a unique economy that we're trying to build, and that attracts unique people. So hopefully they're knocking on your door looking for places to live, and we hope to see more of them coming in the future. That is my last slide. I'm happy to take questions if there are any. I know Jeff's got some more actual hard number details, but I'd be happy to answer anything based on what I've covered. All right. Well, thank you. Please. Oh. Is that? It's part of their joint venture agreement. When it was a project, we called it Toyota Mazda just because Toyota was the company we were most familiar with. But the official joint venture is Mazda Toyota Manufacturing US. They still don't have a single unified logo, so we use both logos when we show them.
think they call it the JV.
The JV.
The JV. Thank you, Lucia. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Please give Lucia another round of applause. As all of you know, we do an economic report in a partnership with UAH, and they have been doing the numbers for us. I'm going to ask Jeff Thompson to come up here and tell us some hard numbers on how good we're doing in our market.
Thank you, Cindy. Thank you all for being here and the opportunity to speak for a couple of minutes. Well, you've seen everything that I'm going to show you, either in print or on screen today. So, you know, the strategy here is if you want someone to hear what you're saying, say it 3 times. So this is the 3rd time that you're going to see what I'm going to share with you. It is great, and it's really not that hard. It's actually pretty easy to talk about this stuff. I'm with the Center for Management and Economic Research at the University of Alabama in Huntsville. We're tied with the College of Business, and so we have economists, and Brenda Mahalingam, whose name is on here, is our economist. I play one on TV from time to time, but I'm not one. So what I'm going to show you today is really some of the things that, in numerical form, what you already know. So if you have questions about those, I'm happy to stay afterwards. We can talk about them or here based on what you have. So I'll run through these fairly quickly. The points that really popped off the page to me as we looked at it. First, in terms of listings, have been mentioned today. I mean, this just kind of says everything. I could put this up and sit down. But you see the curve down each color is a price band, and it's kind of small from where you are. Obviously, I apologize for that, but there's just so much data there we have. But you can see the slope in terms of inventory and the price, available by range, by price range, has dropped in every area, and it doesn't seem it's going to turn anytime soon. But there is some highlights. In terms of residential units sold, you heard this number earlier, and we're looking at the first quarter of 2019. So this is not monthly, this is 3 months ending March. And you can see the red line is the lowest number of sales since 2010. And the green line is where we are today, the highest level, and the blue is the average. This slide I really like, probably no one else in the room likes it, but what it shows me is you see the bars by month. It's the seasonality of sales in this market. And the green line at the top actually screams to me that in March, you guys really beat the average. In other words, that early spring is shown in this chart because your March average is jumped up so dramatically, and it just kind of speaks as to what happened on the 5-year average. Price movement across the area, and I see people snapping things. You're helping to do that. You're welcome to do that, but the report's also available, and you can have these slides if you like them. But the green dotted line there is the trend line. So it's a straight linear trend, and that's the slope of the price increases over time since 2010. But look in 2019, the far number to the right at the top, you're significantly above that average, which means prices are moving up. You guys know that, but this is the documentation for that, obviously. Days on market, you heard that. Mr. Thrasher stole my thunder on that one. Not like you guys didn't already know that. But 55 is almost unheard of. I know there's other places where they sell, you know, downtown Atlanta, for example, and other places. I've heard things quicker than that, but this is just phenomenal. And a lot of the credit goes to you and your agents who are out there working with folks. And if you look across that, it was only 5 years ago, we were at the peak, 124 days. So if you just think over time in 5 years, the shift that's come is just amazing, you know, from a number standpoint. Again, you guys live it. Supply, we looked at this a different way. This is months of supply. And so the green at the top is your higher ends, the above $350,000 homes, and that has the most supply, as you probably would know, 5.4 months worth of supply in that band at the end of March of 2019. And it drops down into below the 150 at the lowest at 1.3 months out there. So again, you see those bands converging. You got to have something to sell in the business you're in. And unfortunately, as I told Josh earlier, you've got a good reception about this report, but I really take that as a compliment because people don't like me when I tell you bad news typically, but you guys like the numbers. So thank you very much. Another look at the inventory on this, and again, I had a lot to do with these, so I'm praising myself, which I don't mean to be, but in this situation, it really screams. If you look at these are the bands prior quarter versus current quarter. Just look at the drop since 2014, which is the peak there in 2015, and you see the dark green is the prior quarter versus the current quarter, so you can really see the movement in a 6-month period of time. And so the 2019 first quarter dropped based on December, the fourth quarter of 2018. Again, it's kind of amazing. And in fact, I had to go back and check my numbers over and over again because I couldn't believe what I was getting. Inventory sales to inventory, or pending sales, inventory at the end of the first quarter. Again, no surprise to you guys, but you've got the inventory dropping significantly, and you've got the residential units sold moving up. You know, in 2 years, in the first quarter there, you almost doubled the number of sales. And for all the reasons that Lucia just shared with you, you've got more people coming in and buying, more confident in moving up. This chart really brings it all together. From a business perspective, this should not exist. The red diamond there shows you a gap that shouldn't happen. And so what it means is the blue line is your sales line, and your average inventory is the green line. And so your sales are above your inventory. Okay, that can't happen for very long, right? So what happens typically is people will put their homes on the market when they think they can sell them for a good price, right? So you get more inventory coming on. I don't know how much more of that is out there. We don't do forecasting, but at some point I think there's a limit to that. Also, it pulls new construction into the market. Again, you guys know this, but there are issues in the construction industry that's going to cap that growth or the speed of that growth, workforce being one of them, especially in the skilled trades. So in that diamond, in our effort, we'll make a prediction, but not a forecast in here, but we think that we'll see growth in sales, a number of units in this quarter, and I don't know what it looks like today, but we'll know soon. And then the average inventory should bump up just a little bit. So you see those upward curves there, just a little bit, if the past is a predictor of the future. But I think that there are lots of good things out there that you can share. Comments, questions? Thank you for not falling asleep, and thank you for the feedback.
Thank you, Jeff. Please. Okay, so the numbers say what we've all been dealing with. We need homes to sell, and the ones we have are selling, so that's good. At this time, I'd like to ask Kristen Wood